All right, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me again on this first of 4 sessions of Microsoft 365 Power Hour. My name is Akshar Apte and I'm a technical consultant here at CPIT. One of the first things I should start off with is that I am from Australia, so you might notice that the accent is slightly different. Apologies if I slip up between saying data and data or router and router, or things like our cricket team's better than yours, but yeah, we'll just see how we go through the session. We're going to work through 4 of these sessions, and before we start off, what I'd like to do is see if you guys have your phones with you, and while we kind of wait and warm up, just point your camera towards the QR code on the screen and it should give you a link to a Microsoft Forms page. There's 5 little questions there, just to see where you guys are at in your Microsoft 365 journey. So fill that in. The QR code will be on the slides that follow as well, so you don't need to kind of do this now or take screenshots or anything. But yeah, we'll keep going through and continue with the rest of the session. So what are we doing? We are going through 4 sessions this week, and what we've decided is the applications that sit within the Microsoft 365 product suite can be divided into these 4 different sections. So we're looking at productivity today, but then we also have communication, presentation, and then to finish it off, data, AI, and automation. Now, what is Microsoft 365? And hang on a second, wasn't it called Office at some point? Yes, it was. It was called Office 365. As of the 21st of April, Office 365 was relabeled to Microsoft 365, and this was done for the home and business, so SMB products as well as personal use products. The enterprise grade products, so you might have heard of things like Office 365 E1, E3, E5. Those are the enterprise grade products. They still remain under the Office 365 banner, but the old Office 365 Business, Premium, Business Essentials, all of those products are now relabeled to Microsoft 365. You can jump on our website and sort of read through more details on what Microsoft 365 is, what the different plans are that are available, and how the change from Office 365 to Microsoft 365 impacts you in terms of licensing. Moving right along, so this is the big wheel slide, and like it says on there, look at all those apps. Now, depending on the size of screen that you have, it might be a bit of a stretch. You might need to zoom in to see what's on there, but rest assured we'll be going through each of these sections 1 per day. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that obviously there's beautiful colors, which is one of our CP trademarks. We do like things bright and beautiful, and we're going to focus on the productivity suite today. So that includes apps like Calendar, Planner, Tasks, To Do, Word, OneNote, and OneDrive. Some of these are products that you must be familiar with, but there's others in there that probably not all of you have used. The thing with the Microsoft product stack is that when you purchase a license for a Microsoft 365 business product or an enterprise product, you essentially get all of these apps for free. Well, when I say for free, I mean with your subscription. The problem is that everyone knows the standard apps, which is your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but then when you go past that, people don't know that these apps exist, or if they do exist, they don't know how to leverage them for their business. So the aim of these sessions is to go through most of these apps in detail, or at least explain to you what they do, show you a bit of the functionality, and then hopefully you can take that away and see how that fits into your business processes. There's obviously going to be things in there that are there, you're paying for, but you have no application for in your business. Unfortunately, you won't get a refund from Microsoft for that. If you buy a license, you get everything under it. There's also a little sliver down the bottom in red, which is SharePoint. So, and that little red ring sort of revolves around the entire wheel. And the reason for that is that SharePoint is the back end for a lot of these products. most of the information from these products is stored in a SharePoint library. It sits behind, it might not directly look like it's SharePoint, but rest assured that things like Teams, all of the information there is backed onto SharePoint. Other products in here include little products like MileIQ. So MileIQ doesn't really fit in any of these suites, but it's a nice little product that Microsoft have thrown out there for mileage tracking. So if you've got lots of cars on the road or sales staff that need to put mileage requests in, MileIQ is the product that you need. Again, you've already paid for it, so why not use it? The pink suite up the top, which is called the Extended Suite, and it's got pound signs next to it. The reason we haven't included that in the rest of it, because most of the products in there, so Project, Visio, and Dynamics 365, are extra paid for products. So you don't get them as part of your Microsoft 365 license, but they do sit within the Microsoft wheel, and they talk to a lot of the other products in this ecosystem. So if you did end up with Visio or Project, your files will be saved in SharePoint. All the security settings within SharePoint will apply to those documents and the rest of it. But they are separate applications that you need to purchase. Okay, moving right along. We're going to focus today on the Productivity Suite. And the Productivity Suite contains the apps that you can see here. Most of you would be aware of things like Word, hopefully, Calendar, OneNote, OneDrive, and then Planner, Tasks, and To-Do. They tend to sit within this, but maybe not everyone's using them, or people might be using these without knowing that they're actually separate standalone apps. So let's start with Word. Okay, it's probably an app that most people have been exposed to throughout their lives. If you really want to feel old, and this certainly made me feel old, it's been around since 1983, believe it or not. It's almost as old as I am, not giving away my age, but yeah, 1983, it's been around since. I'm pretty sure everyone's used Word at some point or the other, but let's look at some of the features within Word that you may or may not have used. The thing that I'll make clear at the start of this session and start of these sessions in general is that these aren't targeted towards power users of the application. So I'm not going to delve into the absolute nitty-gritties, go to the nth degree of how you need to use these applications as power users. The idea is to introduce you to the product, give you certain hints and tips that might make your life easier, and then take you through the same process with all the other products within that suite. So let's start with Word. The 5 things that we're going to talk about today: handling PDFs with Word, spelling, grammar, and so much more with Editor, using Dictation, so look, no hands, quick selections, and then using document versions to go back in time or restore copies of older documents. So handling PDFs with Word. It's been around since about Word 2007 or Office 2007 that you were able to save Word documents as PDFs. And let's just look through and revisit how that is done. So I've got a document here that we're going to try and save as a PDF. You just go up to the file menu, save as. I'm going to pop into my OneDrive and then choose the file type as PDF. Give it a file name. Let's just call it Lorem Ipsum. And then I'm going to hit save. As soon as I do that, it's going to export it as a PDF and it's going to open it up. Now, you can see up the name that it does say .pdf, so trust me when I say it's a PDF. The other thing you can do is you can export it. So you can export it as a PDF, and what that lets you do is it gives you some further options, including things like which pages do you want to export, whether you want to include document properties, and then do you want to encrypt the document with a password or do anything fancy like that. So let's just use the standard pages there, hit OK, hit publish, and there you go, that's saved as a PDF as well. So that's basically 2 different ways that you can export a document and save it as a PDF. The next thing we're going to do is import a PDF document and edit it in Word. Now this is a fairly recent feature, and what you need to know about this is it does not work as well as Adobe PDF or any of the other PDF editors will. And the reason I say that is because it's geared towards text and understanding and recognizing text and patterns within your document. It has limited functionality on understanding tables and table content. If it does not understand a particular type of element, it will just import that element as an image. So if you've got complex structures within your Word document, if you've got complex tables or fancy designs on them, and it can't recognize the text within it, it's going to import the entire thing as an image, and then you won't be able to edit the content. You'll still be able to do things like resize the image. But for this purpose, let's just use that Lorem Ipsum document that we've used in the past. So we're going to go to Open, back to our OneDrive, pick the Lorem Ipsum document, and you see a message there that says it'll now convert your PDF to an editable Word document. It will be optimized to edit the text, so let's see how that looks. And that, because it was a pure text document, there you go, there's your text. You can then change the color on it, change the font, and as you can see, it's letting you make all those changes. So it is letting you edit this PDF file. To save it, if you do hit save, it's going to try and save it as a document, so you need to then save it back as a PDF. Let's call this modified, so just so we know, and we're not overwriting the previous file. There you go, that's your modified PDF, and then as soon as you save it, there you go. So it's going to come up as a modified PDF. So that's how you would edit a PDF document using Word. The next thing we're going to look at is using Editor. So Editor is one of the features in Word that is fairly recent, and it uses a lot of AI in the back end to analyze your document and your document structure. It analyzes how you write the document, not just with hard and fast spelling and grammatical rules, but it also understands the tone of your document and suggests things if it finds that you might want to change how you're doing it. So let's use this example document. It's a sales proposal. You might notice that it says Megan Bowen up the top. I am using Microsoft's default template, so a lot of this is me pretending to be Megan. So let's just pretend that I'm her. But these are documents that are Microsoft demo documents. So let's start off with the sales proposal and then see how we can use Editor to help us with spelling and grammatical content. As you can see, it's already started underlining spelling mistakes and grammatical errors in the document. But what we want to do is use Editor to see what else we can see. So top here, click on the Editor icon and it'll bring up suggestions for you. Now, aside from the spelling and grammatical suggestions, you'll see other refinements down here like clarity, conciseness, etc. You can go into settings, and where that'll take you is back to your normal spelling and grammatical settings within Word. So you can change your settings in here if you want to. Let's look at some of the other refinements and other sections in here. So if you look at spellings, yes, it's going to tell you that litware is spelled wrong. Yeah, we don't care because that's just proper noun. Move on to some of the refinements. So it says formality. So let's have a look at what it's saying. It's saying, oh, I've used that. So in formal writing, try spelling out the words. And then it gives you a little bit of a blurb on what you should be doing. And the suggestion is change it from that to that is. We can say that's fine. We want it to be informal. Don't check for this issue, and it'll tick that off the list. The other issue it's picked up is conciseness. So it's saying instead of take a look, just use the word look, and it'll be clearer for your readers. So let's change that. Another one that it's picked up, and once we've done that, it's picked up all the suggestions. So we've got nice little green ticks. Let's check for the tone of our writing. And we're good to go. So if you were writing a formal document and you needed it to be, you needed the language to reflect that, then obviously you'll keep that formality section on and recognize the suggestion that it gives you from this editor. Let's look at dictation. So look, no hands using dictation. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a live example of this, of me talking and typing, but I will go through some of this. Everyone's used to using, whether it be Siri or OK Google or Alexa on their phones and other portable devices. So this is pretty much the same. This is using, similar sorts of things, but using it to actually type documents and let it do the work for you. So what are the options that you get when you use dictation? So first of all, this is where it's located. These are the languages that you can dictate in, and then you've got a certain set of preview languages that Microsoft are adding into the program. So let's just swap that to English UK for now. Not that I'm going to be doing any talking, but let's look at what else we've got in here. So tell me more. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that it tells you how to turn things on and off, but then it tells you how to dictate documents. You will see that there's sections in here for each application, so you can use dictate in Word, Outlook, OneNote, but we're going to look at what is available in Word. Now, let's move to Windows because we're using it on Windows. And what you'll see is basically how to work on this. One thing is really important. To fix mistakes, you will need to use your keyboard. So if you make a mistake, you can't say backspace or delete. You will have to use your keyboard. These are the phrases that you will need to know to add punctuation marks and other things in there. And there's a nice little list there for you to go through as well. So pretty straightforward. What it says on the tin, use it, sort of make your life a bit easier. But if you do make mistakes, realize that you will need to use your keyboard to make any edits on the slides. Quick selections. Now, there's no real demo of this because this is literally what you could do while I'm talking now. You can open up a Word document and practice this because it's really straightforward. Selecting things. Now, normally you'd use a mouse and you'd click and drag, or you'd click on a section and drag it all the way to select a full thing. But if you double click on a word, Word will select just that particular word. If you then triple click instead of double clicking, it'll select an entire section. So whether that's a paragraph or something you've labeled as a section within Word. If you want to select a sentence, you will need your keyboard. And if you need to select a sentence, you have to press the Control key on your keyboard and then click into that sentence anywhere, and it'll select that for you. Aside from this, you can also use Control, Shift, and the arrow keys on your keyboard to jump through words selected one at a time, and sort of just speed up your selection process a bit. All right, go back in time with document versions. So most of you would have used this at some point or the other, but this is what you would use if you'd made changes to your document, or if you're collaborating on documents with someone else in the company, and someone's made a change and you want to go back and see what the previous document looked like. All you have to do is just open up your document, go up to the top where you've got the title, click on it, go to version history, and that'll show you all the version histories that you've got for that particular document. Now, you might ask how many version histories can you go back by, and provided your administrator hasn't restricted Word's or SharePoint's capabilities, because in the back end this relies on SharePoint, you can have something like 50,000 major versions in your history, and I think it's about 500 minor versions. And how it differentiates between major and minor versions is minor versions are things that, when you type something and it auto saves it. If you make smaller changes, it's treated as a minor version. If you submit the document for review, close a document, reopen a document, then it treats it as a major change. So if you've got a history that goes back 5-6 months, and you haven't restricted how many versions you can have on your SharePoint, then you could, in theory, go back 50,000 major versions. That is quite a bit. Okay, the next app in the suite is Calendar. Obviously, this is something that most people have used. This is part of your Outlook. There's nothing special about getting to Calendar from a different way. You can always get to it from Outlook. You can go to it through the Outlook app. You can get to it through the browser. You can get to it through the mobile app. But essentially, they're all going to take you into the same space. A couple of things that you may or may not have done in Outlook. The first one is setting up multiple time zones. And the second thing we're going to look at is adding public holidays and importing other calendars. setting up multiple time zones. Now, I recently moved over from Australia to the UK, and even though it's easier for me to calculate what time it is in Australia because it's GMT plus 10 or plus 11, I struggle when it comes to setting up meetings and organising time between the two sites. So yes, I can just look at a clock and go, yep, I think this is what time it is now, so go back and then add 10 and that's fine. Why try and do all the heavy lifting when you can get something like Outlook to do this for you? So the way to do this is in your calendar, you'll notice that you've got other features in your calendar like the weather and stuff, but let's go into the options and see where you can add the time zones. So clicking into the options, you'll go into calendar because that's the section we want to edit. And then within calendar, you can obviously change your work hours and set your work week. I want it to be from 9 to 3 or from 10 to 2 or however I want to work. But then if we keep scrolling down here, under time zones, you'll see that there is an option here to show a second or a third time zone. I'm going to give it a label, so I'm going to call it, let's call it home, and that's my current time zone, so this is where I am. And then my second time zone, I'm going to call Australia office. We don't have an office there just yet, but let's say we did. We're going to pick the time zone from there, and I know it's UTC plus 10 with daylight savings. There we go, Canberra, Melbourne, Sydney, pick that. Hit OK. There you go. Nice little columns popped up in Outlook, and now you can see both time zones next to each other. So for those that are joining us from Australia, I hope you are, because hello to everyone there. It is 2 a.m. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. I mean, it's not 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. in the example, but yeah. So you can see both time zones there, and if you're scheduling meetings, this is a nice handy tool to use with either clients or different offices around the globe. Adding public holidays and other calendars. Now, Outlook will actually let you import calendars from other web sources. Whether those calendars are live and up to date or not depends on the source that published it, but there are other things that you can add, especially public holiday calendars, that obviously won't change a lot. I mean, if you've got bank holidays, then yep, that's a fixed set of dates, and usually you won't see a lot of change in there. But there is also the ability to add things like sporting event calendars. So I'm a big fan of Formula One, and I had a Formula One calendar in there, but all the races have been cancelled and they only start until July. So I've had to go and delete a whole heap of races from the diary. Let's look at how we can add other public holidays in here. So same sort of deal. We're going to start with a calendar view, go into File and Options, and then go back into Calendar. And this is where we can add holidays. So click on Add Holidays. Now you see a whole list of countries here. I'm going to go back to good old Australia, pick that from the list, hit OK. Now I've done this in the past, so that's why you can see this warning that it says, do you want to install them again? But yeah, we're going to say yes on that. Yep, do the same for the UK ones because that's by default, hit OK, OK again. And then as you can see, Mother's Day in Australia was the 10th of May, so let's pick that up and you can see where it is. So that's Australia down the bottom. And where was yesterday? So yesterday was Spring Bank Holiday, and again you can see the location in the UK. So that's going to add other things in there. Now obviously if you had sporting calendars, you can add TV show calendars and reminders in here. Just depends on the extent that you're using Outlook for, professional or personal. But there's nothing stopping you from adding those extra calendars in here. Moving on to OneNote. Now, OneNote. So starting off with what is OneNote? Word is a document processor, word processor app. OneNote is a digital notebook. So it's like a scribble pad that you might have. Literally open it up, write what you can when you want to in whatever format. And as you can see, you can type notes, record audio, sketch or write ideas on a tablet. So if you've got a tablet or a laptop with a touchscreen, you can scribble things in there. You can access it from your phone and add pictures. You can search for notes, you can move notes around pages, organize pages into sections, organize sections into notebooks, and we'll look at this on the next slide. You can switch between devices. So, because all of these are connected apps, any changes you make in one app reflect straight into the cloud, and you can pick up and continue where you were on a different device or a different platform. You can share your notebooks with others, so if you want to collaborate on certain notes, you can share that around, and like you do with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you can co-edit, co-author, and contribute at the same time. OneNote features. So as you can see in the screenshot, that's your default OneNote view. On the left, you've got different notebooks. So just use the Microsoft example here. So you've got different notebooks for different subjects, and then within each subject, you've got different sections, and within each section, you've got different pages. So that's how the different layouts within OneNote work. Pages sit within sections, sections sit within notebooks, and multiple notebooks sit within your OneNote app. Standard Word editing sort of features, it's not as comprehensive as, say, Microsoft Word, but you do get formatting like, bold, italics, underline, highlight, bullet points, numbering, tabs, change headings and do things like that. And as you can see, you can, edit, you can insert different types of media in here. Going to move on to another slide which shows you what types of media you can add in. So on this slide, as you can see, there's a trip itinerary. Someone's pulled in a photo of the destination they're going to. There's also, a budget spreadsheet, so you can import other types of Office documents into OneNote and present content in here. So copy paste the table from Excel, pop it into OneNote, and then you've got it there. You can also do things like set up tasks in here, give it a little checkbox, and then that becomes your trip itinerary. You can see that they've highlighted certain items there. That's just using the built-in highlight tool, and then you've also scribbled on here. So if you've got a stylus or you've got a touch screen, or you're opening this on your tablet or on your phone, you can just scribble notes onto it as well. So nice little app to have, quick and easy way to access it, easy way to pull different types of content. It is free form, so it's not as structured and as laid out as Word. You basically get to drag and drop things any way you want. You can change the layouts, you can move things around as you like. The last thing here we're going to do is look at how to take quick notes. So this is an option within OneNote that essentially talks about if I'm doing something else on my PC and I want, or if I remember and go, hang on a second, I just need to make a quick note of this, rather than use the old-fashioned scribble pad that sits on your desk, it's going to move towards a digital format of that, which is using OneNote. And the way to do that is to use Windows and N, which is a shortcut to start a quick note. If you're using a PC, obviously these instructions apply to you. If you're using a Mac, it'll be Command N. But on a PC, you've got a key on your laptop or your keyboards with a little Windows icon. So if you push that button and you press the N key, that's going to bring up a quick note for you. So let's assume that we're talking through this or going through this Word document. I go Windows N, it brings up a little quick note for me, and I want to write this little note here. Yep, check Noah's comment and get clarification what he means later. Quit out of that, and then I can continue working. Now, to see that this is actually in OneNote, I can open the OneNote app, and there you go, that was the quick note that I'd taken. Obviously this goes into the quick note section, so if you do take multiple notes, what it does is it adds different pages under here. If you took a second note, it would add a second page with that note on it. Nice easy way to quickly set tasks for yourself, reminders, and rather than using the age-old scribble pad on your desk, there's a digital way to do this. Obviously the advantages of making it digital are things like being able to search through these, being able to back things up if you ever need to go back and say, what was it that I reminded myself of and why did I need to do that? If you've got it scribbled, you can always search for that note and then find it again. Let's move on to OneDrive. Now, OneDrive is obviously Microsoft's version of personal document storage. What it is an area that lets you store personal files and share them with others. It is again web connected, so you could get the OneDrive app on your tablet or on your phone, and any documents that you store in your OneDrive will be accessible from those devices as well. Real key difference between OneDrive and SharePoint is OneDrive is your personal storage. That's where you hold your own files, personal documents. SharePoint is more shared with your team or with your group or with your company. So if you've got documents that you don't need others to see, that's where you need to put them. Depending on the subscription that you've got, you do get up to 1 terabyte of personal storage. So that is a lot of storage for just your individual files. It lets you, store documents, photos. It indexes them so you can search. Things like photos, it'll actually keep a photo library and it'll tell you, it'll classify photos so you can go back and find photos by location, by date, and it's a really sort of handy tool to go through and get your files. One of the things we're going to talk about with OneDrive is using what's called the known folder backup. What known folder backup does is it uses the OneDrive storage to keep common folders from your PC. So things like your desktop, your documents and your pictures folders, rather than that content living on your personal laptop or your personal desktop, if you say you want this to live in OneDrive, you can set up this known folder backup, and anything you then put in those folders automatically gets moved into OneDrive or into the cloud. In terms of accessing that content, it's the same thing because it sits in the web, sits in the cloud. You can get to it from any device. Just have a quick look at how this works. So, go into your OneDrive on your computer, you right click on it and go into settings. First thing you need to make sure is that it's signed in with your user account. So just double check that it's got your name and your login in there. You can also add another account. So if you've got a personal OneDrive or if you've got a personal subscription, you can add that there and have 2 OneDrive accounts next to each other. We're going to move into this backup tab because this is what we want to use for backing up desktop documents and pictures. We click on Manage Backup, and there you go. Those are the 3 folders that it picks up. You can click each one on and off to select which ones we want. So we don't want pictures backed up, we just want desktop and documents. We're going to select those, click Start Backup. There we go, it's starting to back up files. And let's just click out of it. Now, if I then go into my OneDrive, you'll notice that I have desktop and documents folders in there with a little cloud icon, which means that they're sitting in the cloud now. So let's test this and see if it's working. Let's just create a new text document. I'm just going to call it test. And straight away you'll notice that there was a little icon there that said it was syncing, and now we've got a green icon that says it's moved to the cloud. So there it is on the desktop. It's got the little green tick, which means it's been synced to the cloud, and also the fact that it's available on the device. If I go back into my OneDrive, into the desktop folder, there we go, there's my text document there. So as you can see, it's really fast, it's really straightforward, and it's kind of extra peace of mind because it means that, say you lost your laptop or it got stolen, but you had OneDrive set up on it, you could literally log into any other machine, sign into OneDrive, and as soon as you did that, it'll pull down your desktop documents and pictures and plonk them onto that machine. Gone are the days of going, oh my God, what files have I lost? How am I going to get them back? Straight away, just go into OneDrive, sign in, and boom, there you go, all your documents ready to use. Files on demand is the second feature. So this is that little cloud icon that you saw on the previous test file. 3 different categories on how files work within OneDrive. So you've got online only files, and as it says, these are files that just live in the cloud. You do see them in your OneDrive folder. So when you double click into the folder, you might see this icon next to a file name. And what that means is, yes, OneDrive knows that that file exists, but that file only exists in the cloud. The green circle with a tick means that the file exists locally, which is on your machine as well as in the cloud. But the way OneDrive works is it recognizes how frequently you access certain documents, and documents that you've just created, obviously, they will exist on your machine. So they will have this green circle with a green tick in it. And as you kind of continue using other documents, if you don't go back to this original file, after a certain amount of time, OneDrive will change it so that file is only available in the cloud. And why it's doing that is to protect how much space you're using on your PC. The key is there that if you look at how much storage you get in OneDrive, that's a terabyte, and how much storage you have on your local PC, you might probably realize that you don't have a terabyte of storage. And if OneDrive tried to pull down all the files in your OneDrive onto your desktop, you might run out of space very quickly. So it's clever enough that it knows which files you use often, and it moves those other files into the cloud, removes them from your desktop. It doesn't mean that you are stuck in the situation where suddenly you realize, hang on a second, there's a file from 6 months ago which is really important, I need to access it, I don't have internet access, what am I going to do? You can always right click on the file and select the option to make it always available offline, and that's what's going to give this a green circle with a white tick in it. And that means that any files that you've marked as always available will always be available on your laptop. Doesn't matter if you're working online, if you don't have an internet connection, that file will be like a file that sits on your machine and will never disappear from there, unless obviously you change the status on it. Cool, so that was OneDrive. Let's move on to Planner. Now, we're kind of getting to the realms of some of the apps that exist in that wheel slide that potentially not everyone has used. And Planner is one of those. It's relatively new, but it is a really handy app. And the people that use, you know, things like a project management tool or use a full-blown version of Microsoft Project because that's the only thing they know that gives them that ability, Planner is a nice sort of easy way to start organizing your tasks and tools. So let's have a look at what is Planner. As it says, Planner is a simple visual way to organize teamwork. And what can you do with Planner? You can obviously create plans, assign tasks, you can organize teamwork and collaborate on projects, you can chat with others, and the chat feature is the same as the rest of the Office apps. You can keep track of your team's progress from any device because Planner is a web app, so it's not something you would download and install on your PC. It's something you would access online. You can access it from the waffle icon. Now, the waffle icon is something that you will hear a lot in Microsoft land, and I'll tell you exactly what that is in a sec. And then, like it says, you can download the iOS or Android app for your portable devices as well. So let's plan. Let's have a look at how we can start using Planner. Now, I'm going to go into just a web browser, go into office.com. I've already signed in as Megan. And as you can see, Planner is one of the apps that's already here. You can click onto that, and top left there it says Planner. As you can see, there's my favorite plan of global domination. You can also click into all plans to see everything that you are a part of. You can make other plans favorite so they show up right at the top, or you can go up here and create a new plan. So let's just create a new one here called Plan 1. There we go, going away, creating your plan. First thing you'll notice is buckets. So it does use this principle of buckets. Let's go ahead and create some buckets. So we're going to create in progress and to be assigned. Cool. And then within buckets, you can assign tasks. So let's add multiple tasks in here. Task 1, 2, 3. Unfortunately, they get added in this reverse chronological order. So the OCD in me is going to make me move them around. There we go. I feel a lot better. What can you do with individual tasks? So clicking into this, you can see the progress. So you can say whether it's in progress or completed. You can set priorities. Let's make this urgent. Give it a start date. Ta-da. And a due date. Excellent. And then let's just type a quick note to say this is a note. Now you'll see the tick box here that says show on card, and all that does is it shows that little note and all the other information on this card, so it's easily available. You know, you view it very easily. Let's create this as an important one. Give it another start date next week, due date following Friday, and let's look at checklists. So you can add subtasks in here or checklists, so things that you need to complete in order for this task to be marked as complete. Item 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, let's show that on the card as well, and then move off. There you go. So that's giving you the due date. That's giving you how many tasks to complete. Sorry, how many checklists to complete. The other thing you can do as well is add different attachments. So you can add an item, you can add an attachment. You can attach a file. So let's just use that Lorem Ipsum PDF that we used earlier. Drop that in here. There we go. Show on the card, and then you'll see that it's a PDF on there. Cool. So that's how you create different tasks. Now let's go to the one that had those 4 checklist items in there. Say I've started working on this and I've done items 1 and 2. So I can then change the status of that task to say in progress. I can go up here and say move the task. I can move it into my in progress bucket, or I can do a simple drag and drop and move that from here into in progress. So simple, easy way. You'll see that the task is now in progress. You've completed 2 or 4 checklist items. With task 3, let's say we haven't assigned it to anyone, so it's to be assigned. But then task 1, we're going to assign to someone. So let's pick Diego. Let's send this to Diego and say, Diego, this is your task. So he's a non-member because we haven't added him to this plan. It's a private plan at the start. So now doing this, we'll assign the tasks to the plan and assign this user to have access to this plan as well. Let's go with Diego. So you can see he's added on there, and also that he is now on that task. Going to the chart view. So the chart view shows an overview on all the tasks that you've got in here. You can also go back and complete tasks. So let's say that we've done this one. So once it's marked complete, obviously it goes away. It goes into this show completed section. We don't want to see tasks that we've already done. Let's go back to charts and see how that's affected the overview. And there you go. We've got a green circle there, or green arc there that says it's complete, and all the others that we haven't started yet. The bucket view shows tasks that are to be assigned and in progress and how many of each we've got. There we go, 1 of each. And the last thing you can do is group by different things. So we're grouping by bucket. We can say let's group by priority, and then it's got urgent tasks up the top, which were assigned to Diego, the important tasks down there, and so on and so forth. You can also move to schedule. Now this is one thing that it doesn't do well. It doesn't have a nice Gantt chart view. So you get this little calendar view that shows when these tasks are set for, and also the icon that shows you whether it's in progress or it's complete. Let's go back to the Planner Hub. There you go, there's Plan 1. I want to make it a favorite so I can see it pretty quickly. And there you go, those are all your favorite plans. So that's a quick little whistle-stop tour of how to use Planner. The best thing about this is it does integrate into Teams. So I know there's a lot of people that have been working with Microsoft Teams recently, and using Planner within Teams is just another little feature that has made it easier for people to use Planner. Within Teams, you can go into, let's choose this go-to-market plan as an example. We're going to go and add another application. So hit the little plus sign up the top that says add a tab. And from this list, we're going to pick Planner. So we're going to create another plan. Same sort of deal as before. We're going to create a new plan in here. You can also use existing plans. So if you've created any plans in SharePoint, you can link to those plans from here. For now, let's just create a new one. Go to Market Plan, hit Save. Cool, there you go. And now we're in that same sort of view. So, you know, add buckets again. Bucket 1. There's that. There we go, bucket 2. Go into charts, and literally the same view that you could see online is now available through Teams. And Megan's got a little announcement down the bottom that says I've added a new tab, so everyone in your team can see that as well. Now, in terms of security, obviously, this is available only to people that are a member of this team. So just because you've added it into a team doesn't mean that everyone else in the organization has access to this plan. It's literally members of this team, and that's it. All right, let's just see how we're tracking for time. All right, we've not got a lot of time, so I'm going to breeze through the next bit, but these to be fair are sort of the smaller apps within the 365 suite. So tasks and to-do, let's have a quick look through them. So essentially I've grouped them together because they are versions of each other, if I may call them that. So what's the difference between the two? The difference is that tasks and to-do, essentially, one is within your Outlook. So this is tasks and tasks in Outlook. And then to-do uses the information from tasks and shows it to you in another Microsoft app, which is called To-Do. What Microsoft did was that they purchased an app called Wunderlist back in 2017. And they've basically taken that Wunderlist app and rebadged it, added some of their features, integrated it with the rest of the Office suite, and released that as a to-do app. So looking at tasks in Outlook, like you would use Outlook through the web or through the actual application, tasks is a little tab down the bottom. Within the Outlook app, you can go into it. When you flag emails, say remind me about this email, and you click the little flag icon next to it, it's going to pop that into your tasks folder. You can set, when you want to be reminded about it, whether you want to edit the task further. So as you can see in the screenshot here, you can set status messages on tasks. So similar to Planner, you can say whether they're in progress, not started, waiting on someone else. So you can also say that, I'm waiting on someone else to finish their bit, deferred, and complete, obviously. You can also set the percentage completion. So the second column there shows you how far you are into that task. You can also log work hours next to it to say, how much work has gone behind it, and then when the due date is on that task. So pretty straightforward. Using Microsoft To Do. So this was, like I said, fairly recent app, launched in 2017, mainly designed to be used on mobile devices, so on tablets and phones. And as you can see from the interface, this screenshot and the next screenshot, it's really sort of lends itself to be used on mobiles and tablets. Think of this as a task management app, used to plan and manage your day. The little scribble pad that you normally have with your to-do list for the day, this is the digital version of it. Microsoft have made it a bit pretty, so you can add, these nice little backgrounds behind it. You can make it look nice. You can add little icons. So if you look at the first one that's cancelled on the phone, fourth coffee, so nice little coffee cup next to it, milk and groceries. Some of the features in here that it took from Wunderlist were the ability to share lists with other people. So again, I'm not going to use this in a business sense, but if you were using it for personal use, and say you had a grocery list shared between your family, you could create the list, share it with your significant other, send it to them and say, cool, everyone knows what it is. As soon as someone who has access to that list ticks off an item, the item ticks off on your list as well. So, you're not going to buy 2 bottles of milk just because you didn't realize that someone else had already purchased that bottle of milk for you. And that's kind of an overview of both to-do and tasks. Sort of brings us to the end of the productivity section. I'm going to give you an overview of what's coming up. So obviously we're going to continue this series tomorrow with communication power hour. So we're going to talk about Teams, people, Outlook and Yammer. Then we're going to move on to the presentation power hour. So again, talking about Sway, PowerPoint and Stream. Thing to note there is it is not a design power hour, so I'm not going to tell you how to make your presentations pretty. I don't claim to be a designer, but I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks on making life a bit easier for yourself. And then we're going to finish off with data, AI, and automation. And I've got my friend Steve Strang assisting me with that because he's our resident Power Apps and Power BI guru. So rather than me talking about apps that I use maybe once in a blue moon, let's talk to someone who uses those day in and day out. Following all these PowerHour sessions, we do have a hackathon on the 3rd of June. And we've got Chris Huntingford from Microsoft. He's a Power Platform guru there that's going to talk about how you can build your own COVID-19 wellbeing Power App. It's something that we use internally here at CPIT, and this will actually talk you through the process of building that Power App. So the target audience for this last one is different because it actually talks about building this app. So it's designed for people that work with Power Apps and Power BI and can actually develop those things. The rest of the 3 sessions, very similar to what we've done today. Look into each of the apps within the Microsoft product wheel, demos on how they all work, and then quick tips on how you can better utilize them. So that's really it from me, and let's move on to any sort of Q&A. I know there's been a lot of talking and it's been quite a full-on session, but it's only because we've packed a whole heap into the productivity side of it. There's 6, 7 different apps that we've talked about, so there is a lot of content there and it can be overwhelming. But if there is anything, feel free to pop this in the little Q&A section that you might have on your screens. It will show up down here, so we should be able to see that straight away. And I can answer other questions if you have them. If they are content specific, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer them today, but I will get back to you. While I've given you that time, let me just quickly go through some of the responses to those forms. There's been a few people that have filled these in. Let's look at how we're going through this. So yeah, most people have said that they use Microsoft 365, which is great. Rating your knowledge of 365. What do we got? 3s and 4s. A couple of 2s. Hopefully by the end of that session and the rest of them, you'll be up to 3s and 4s. Looking at which apps people have used. Most people have used, yep, Forms, Planner, and Power BI. What else have we used? Yep, there's a lot of Power BI users, which is good to see. Oh, My Analytics, nice. There's someone that's used My Analytics, that's good. Hopefully it's not just those annoying emails that people see in their inbox at times and go, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to ignore it. We've got someone that's used Stream, that's cool. We are going to talk through Stream a bit as well. Someone that's used To Do, so that's good. Hopefully you knew what I was talking about there. Excellent, that's nice. Good to see. What else have we got in here? What are you hoping to learn from today's session? Cool, yep, we'll learn how this works. Understand what we're paying for. Yep, hopefully there's a little bit there. So many apps that cause crossovers, yep, so what we're going to try and identify is what each application is good for, but then as you've seen with, say, tasks and to do, there are sections there that cross over. So you will see that potentially certain apps will do similar things, but I'll try and highlight where there's crossovers. And there are places where you might think that there's crossovers, but the target audience from a Microsoft perspective is different. I will also touch upon Microsoft's inner ring and outer ring concept in further sessions. So it'll talk about which apps are used in the inner ring, which apps are used in the outer ring, and that should help with clarifying the scope of each of those applications. And a few people have said maybe, so that's good. I should have put that question at the end of this session. Would you be interested in follow-up sessions? Do you really want to hear an Aussie ramble on for 60 minutes and talk about Microsoft products? But most of you have said maybe, so hopefully that answer hasn't changed as we've gone through the session. But yeah, that's everything that we've got. I'm just going to have another quick look at the Q&A. Nope, looks like everyone is happy with what they've heard so far. We've still got, what is it, about 3 minutes to go before we end the power hour. So I might just leave you 3 minutes early, give you 3 minutes back in your day. Just want to say thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring these apps to you. Hopefully it's been of use. Hopefully you've taken away some of the things that might help you in speeding up how you do your daily work. Hopefully you've explored some apps that you didn't know what they were or where to find them. And I hope to see you all tomorrow and for the rest of the week and go through the rest of the sessions. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.